from what we've heard from some of the people at the Seoul Conference, Hal Puthoff and others, Lou Elizondo, there's a dilemma within government, which is how do you ready society at all levels simultaneously for the global confirmation of the presence of a non-human intelligence, especially if there are hard truths in that disclosure, either historically or in the present. And so if society is in this completely oblivious, distracted, incapable position of handling the admission, that's their assessment, not mine, might not be true. Well, let's say, okay, maybe. So let's help society get beyond that, or let's even demonstrate that society already is beyond it. I mean, there are these layers of disclosure. We think of it's all government, and it's like, well, it's citizen under government. Government is lateral, it's international. It's not just the USG. I mean, what about the other governments of the world? And then I would argue that it layers above that into the NHI itself. Why aren't they disclosing? Why are they operating in a state of non-disclosure? And then it might even layer beyond them into the exopolitical reality, which is why are there not forces from the exopolitical reality disclosing to us about what's happening with this visitation? And so I think it can come from any quarter, right? And I love that this is a spark in the citizen space.
This idea that they're saying, this is a repeated thing that's been happening. There's something in the sky. They acknowledge that it's there and that they don't know what it is, but it's not a threat. So that is completely antithetical to the military. That's not there. Everything is a threat by default, unless, it's finally identified. So it has always led me to, for me, it's just been obvious, maybe incorrectly so, but for me, it's obvious for years now. Every time they say that, I go, okay, they're in communication with the aliens. They know the intent. They're part of their plan. Somehow they're in corroboration. Because if they didn't know their plan, they would not leave the money on the table. They would be screaming that this is a huge threat, that we need to, triple the military budget, et cetera, et cetera. And they're leaving that money on the table. And I know that's antithetical also to the military.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a dangerous scenario. If that's true, like if the governments of the world are already in collaboration with no citizen involvement or awareness, like, can we trust the nature of that collaboration really as being on the best interests of the human species?
Right.
That's a high risk scenario. But the other side is, they have cooperated or collaborated. They have discerned some of the intent, and they've concluded that they cannot match the capabilities. And so to come out and say it's a threat, people would say, well, what are you going to do about it? And I mean, look at this recent drone activity. Well, apparently they can't fully mitigate the nature of what's going on. And so then what is that? Hysteria? Is that the collapse of the citizen government contract? We pay our taxes, they protect us. And so I think there's a whole bundle of issues in there. And that enigma, what is the true nature of the government NHI collaboration, competition? Is there a Cold War, a hot war? By all accounts, there might be some effort to down these craft. What is that? Is that offensive action? Is it defensive action? So, inside of that black sphere, right, is probably more than one reality. But that might be part of the hard truth that makes disclosure so difficult from the perspective of those inside government. So that the citizens are, becoming firsthand witnesses. They're ontologically onboarding themselves because, they're going through the slow process of having seen it, being a part of a community of people with the tools to track it. They're not helpless, right? They have a tool in their hand. So when government confirms, let's imagine, people actually, they can go somewhere. And so I think this helps in all ways. It might be a win-win for all parties.